Hello, everyone. My name is Christy Strauss, and I am here to welcome you to today's webinar, What Are You Leaving on the Table? So as I mentioned before, if you could just type in quickly into the chat box if you're able to hear me and see my screen so I know to go ahead and move forward. That will make things a lot easier instead of keeping you on. Oh, perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Brandon, Deborah. So before I get started, just a few housekeeping things I want to mention, and that is this webinar is being recorded and will be available in about 48 to 72 hours. We have a YouTube library, and we'll store it there. And I'll send everyone a link so you can go in and listen, or even forward that link to somebody else that may have interest in listening in. I do urge you to subscribe to our YouTube website. This enables you to get updates as we put any recordings on that website. You would automatically get an email with an update. Go ahead and type in any questions you may have into the chat box, and I'll address those at the end of the webinar. So again, I really appreciate everybody's taking time today to listen in. For those of you who are not familiar with IAD, Insurance Advisors Direct is a full-service FMO with a national footprint, and we pride ourselves on simplifying our agent success. And we're able to do this by using 7 pillars of success. And just really quickly, I want to explain each pillar. I won't take up a ton of time. But the first is product offering. So we have 15 different product lines with over 45 vetted carriers. We want to make sure that we're bringing you the best carriers with the best commissions. Training and education is another pillar. And we're able to do ongoing webinars. As I mentioned, we have a YouTube library. We have live sales summits and road shows and face-to-face meetings. Right now we don't, but hopefully in the near future we will. Marketing services, we have customizable pieces available for each carrier and product line. We can also do generic types of pieces, just whatever suits your needs. Sales tools, we have a turnkey selling system for many of our product lines: Medicare, life and annuity, limited medical, long-term care, which is shrinking, and then group retiree plans. We also have lead programs customized to fit your budget and your needs, as well as one in place for everyone, and that's every 5 enrollments, you're going to get a $100 lead credit. Now, you can either bank that credit until you get 200 or 300 and then say, hey, I want a 1,000-piece lead drop, or you can co-op that cost with us when you're ready. Our technology, we have a really robust website that's an ongoing work in progress. So right now, you're able to log in and put in all the carrier appointments you have with us, and store your username and password, and there will be a hyperlink inside of that. So just by going into the IAD website, you click on that hyperlink, it's going to take you to that other carrier website. This way you're not having to store on your favorites or your username and password and things like that. We also have a really nice online quoting tool. We'll quote things like final expense, care supplement, Med Advantage, dental, vision, and hearing. So it's going to give you, just by typing in a zip code, it's going to show you some of the best plans in that particular area. And then our administrative services. Those of you who are on this webinar probably are very familiar with Heather. Heather has now a team. She's remarkable. Most of you would agree with me, I'm sure. So our first-in-class administrative team back office, they're there to help you with anything from commission issues to any kind of issue you should have with a carrier, or assistance from us with some of your enrollments. So When you meet with your clients and you go into a meeting with an objective in mind, and that is to make a sale. When you're meeting with a client to discuss Medicare insurance options, most of you will likely leave with an application, or you will have enrolled them right there to submit to one of your favorite carriers. But did you go over all of the exposures your client may face? For med sub sale, did you prepare a drug plan or dental, vision, and hearing plan? Or did you discuss long-term care or an alternative short-term care? If you were discussing Medicare Advantage, did you discuss the exposure of maximum out-of-pocket costs? Did you explain that most of those exposures come from a hospital stay? Well, today I am going to go over some of those options that you can bring up to your client. ID has a great portfolio of ancillary products that were available to give to you, and you can then share with your clients. So specifically, Medicare Supplement versus Medicare Advantage. Your agent-in clients will ask for an explanation of these two types of plans. And besides the importance of being able to discuss those fundamental differences, you're going to also need to explain the exposures that each of these present. So as I mentioned in the previous slide, Medicare Supplement plans do not have things like an RX built into it. They don't have things like a dental, vision, and hearing. So you're going to want to make sure that you let them know these things and be prepared to present them some options to add that in right then at that time. Also, you might want to talk about long-term care plans without going into great detail. And the only reason I say that is you might just want to say something like, so do you have a long-term care plan? Just quick little sentence, that's all. You don't have to go into detail. Let them answer it. Versus a Medicare Advantage plan, which poses a slightly different type of exposure. So maximum out-of-pocket costs, they can range anywhere from $2,800 in some plans all the way up to $6,700, depending on that plan. So protecting your client's exposure with Med Advantage is going to lean more towards a hospital stay, obviously in drug costs too. But for that cost, offering a nice hospital indemnity plan or even an accident plan would be a great plan to give them. I say accident because most seniors go into the ER due to falls, and that's obviously considered an accident. So accident plans are going to cover them for something of that nature. So as I go into the next few slides, I'll explain in a little bit more detail some of these plans and how they work. As I mentioned, long-term care, now it's a big one. That was my expertise for many years when I worked at a long-term care carrier. However, long-term care is dwindling down. Carriers are exiting that marketplace. One of the things that carriers didn't realize is people don't let these types of plans lapse. So they didn't factor in that. It's not like a life insurance plan. People buy them because they know they're going to use them. But a small number of people who own long-term care plans, and it's just a small number of people that own them, and many others would like to, but perhaps they cannot. And they can't because the underwriting is so strict that they can't get through that process. Even if they could afford it, there are situations in which long-term care is just not attainable for them. So one of the types of plans I want to talk to you about is short-term care. And so just to let you know, we have a few carriers, Kemper, Medico, GTL, and Aetna, have short-term care plans. Now, they vary. I'm going to go into just a little bit of information about that. But one of the things that, as you're making your presentation, you want to stress is that plans stop paying if somebody is in a skilled nursing facility after day 100. So what are they prepared if they have to stay in that facility maybe another, 100 days? These short-term care plans, most will go up to 360 days. Now, Kemper is the exception. Theirs is a home health only plan. So it's great, but it's only going to give you home health care. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. This slide right here, as you can see, I did take those carriers and make sort of a graph. But did you know that falls are the major cause for the chronic care? And so I'm sure all of you have some sort of story, but I'll tell you really quickly. My father, he's not in terrible health, but he's not in great health. And this past January, he actually fell, got a severe concussion, and didn't break any bones, luckily, but ended up having to go into the ER and observation, and then he was in the hospital. Ended up getting a pacemaker. His fall was due to heart issues, but all of these types of things are usually caused or do cause a fall. And so nearly 44% of the nursing home stays are less than 1 year. So with that statistic, it does make sense to offer short-term care to other people. Now, the underwriting is a little less stringent than a long-term care. There are some underwriting and some knockout questions depending on the carrier that you choose to look at. The benefits are triggered much like long-term care. So you have to have inability to perform 2 out of the 6 ADLs. ADLs are activities of daily living, and those include bathing, dressing, continence, eating, toileting, and transferring. And each of these carriers will use that for their underwrite or for their claim benefit triggers. Each of these carriers also have a different sweet spot. Now, I do want to mention this. I'm sure you all know it, but Medicare does cover hospice care, but it does not cover the room and board in a hospice facility. So if you're needing hospice care, most of the time, Medicare is going to take care of everything in your home, whether it be the drugs and the bed and things like that. However, if you want to go to a facility, that is not covering that. So some of these plans will cover that room and board and hospice care. So just keep that in mind. Now, just a little caveat here, Medico, their plan is underwritten and endorsed right now by AARP. That is in the works to be removed from the AARP Optum call-in center. So right now it's not available for brokers to sell. However, they are working on it. My understanding is their contract is up with them very soon. So as soon as it is, it will be back and available for brokers to go ahead and market that plan. So let's take a quick look at Medicare Advantage plans and some of the exposure there. They've really evolved to have so many rich benefits added in at low to no monthly premium. With that being said, though, they all do have a MOOP cost, a maximum out-of-pocket cost. And as I mentioned earlier, the most common way to reach that MOOP is through a hospital stay of some sort. So the hospital indemnity is a great product that will protect that exposure. Now, the carriers that have nice plans, and I'll tell you why here, are LifeSecure, GTL, and Medico. They have a really nice competitive hospital plan. All basically work off selecting a daily benefit up to a certain amount of days per calendar year. So if you just want to say, for example, assist your client to cover whatever their daily inpatient costs would be. Let's say it's $200 just to keep the math easy. Then maybe offer them a hospital indemnity plan that has a $200 a day benefit. Obviously, you can go higher. I believe most of these go in $10 increments up to a limit. Life Secure's is $900, which is pretty robust. Now, Medicos has some rich ER or some rich added benefits, and they have an ER rider in there. And I will say Life Secure and Medico allow for electronic applications, so you can actually do this remotely. And in this climate right now, that's how we need to make sales. So keep those two carriers in mind. And these also have baked-in observation stay, so you're not having to choose that as a rider. Most of the folks that go in start in as observation. And so it's nice to know you have a policy that's going to take care of that. Many of the Medicare Advantage carriers are charging that as an inpatient hospital stay. So it would be whatever that daily benefit is that they will get charged for the observation. Obviously, Priority Health is a little different. Their plan, I believe, just goes with an urgent care for observation, so it's a very low cost. It's more like $90 for observation. So these hospital plans will pay out that daily benefit, and then basically all you have to do is once you're discharged, and you want to instruct your client once you're discharged, they're looking for a form called the UB04. You submit that for claim, and the claim's paid out. And that money can be used for anything. Life Secure and GTL have a guarantee issue age from 64.5 to 65.5, but most of these, or I will say all three of these that I'm talking about, will have a simplified issue underwriting unless you're in that guarantee issue period. So with your Medicare supplement plans, they're great and they cover excess charges for the most part of your Medicare A and B. Unfortunately, there are still some needed components to keep seniors out of the penalty box. So selecting a drug plan, even though it's an arduous process, and especially for this newly vamped Medicare.gov website, it is something that you're going to have to at least mention to your clients, if not write them. And some agents just even assist. So IAD is looking to have some solutions as we forge ahead into the future. We're not there yet, but we are looking at having a capability of being able to dial in your drugs for your client, and then it'll maintain those drugs, and you can then go back to it year after year. But some of the carriers we work with right now, Envision has been a great carrier for low usage clients. SilverScript has a rich formulary, so does WellCare, and then Humana. So these are carriers that will have that standalone PDP. Dental, vision, and hearing, as I mentioned, if you're not offering these to your Medicare supplement clients, you should be. And we have a graph here with several different carriers we work with. Most will use, Dentamax or different types of networks, but or Carrington is another common network. But you're going to want to at least present that to your clients. Many of them, and I'll say this because I've heard this before, don't even realize they don't have this baked into their Medicare supplement plan because maybe their neighbor has, let's say, a Priority Health Med Advantage, and then they tell them, hey, I've got dental, vision, and hearing, I've got a gym membership. So they may wonder, where are all my benefits like that? So it's important to educate them as you go in, let them know these are things that you need to get separately. Most of them are going to have waiting periods for any type of procedures, not for preventative care, but whether it be dentures or implants or something like that. And these plans range in premium from $35 up to $50. So once you're appointed with IAD, you have access to just about anything we have available. You'll see this screen here shows these PDFs. It's a little fuzzy, but basically it's sort of a good, better, best type of scenario. I would recommend before you go into a sale, have your favorite carriers with some of these supplemental plans available to discuss, and just have it out there. It makes that sale seamless, so you're not having to think about it or, oh gosh, I forgot to mention. If you've got this with you and you know you're going to present somebody a Med Advantage plan, then go ahead and stick your Life Secure or your Medico hospital plan in there, and be willing to talk about that and the reason that you want to mention it, to cover their exposure. So, and then for the Med Sup, I would definitely be always mentioning dental, vision, and hearing. Additionally, both of these, you need to talk about that short-term care. As I mentioned, long-term care is a very difficult conversation, and it's also a very difficult thing to get somebody to pass through the underwriting process. So why not just go right into short-term care, knowing the statistics that 44% of us are going to be in a long-term care type of situation, and it's going to amount to under a year. So short-term care seems to be probably the best fit for something like that. So this is just a little refresher type of webinar that provides you with some reminders when you're presenting to your clients organically with either your Medicare presentations. And I hope you found this webinar to be useful. I thank you for taking the time to join me today in identifying what you may be leaving on the table. And IAD is here to help you simplify your success. So you will be hearing from either myself or Cass Abron. Cass is our newest member of the IAD sales team, and she will also be contacting you, or either or, and we look forward to visiting with you. We hope you stay safe, and remember that most of these carriers I presented all have capabilities of doing remote applications online. With the current environment we're living in, remote sales are going to keep you safe and keep you earning commissions. So let me see if we have any questions. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and type them in that chat box, and I'd be happy to address them. If you don't have questions, as I mentioned, we will be following up with you. We can provide you some support information on the short-term care, the hospital plans, the dental, vision, and hearing. As I mentioned, your clients will have exposure with either plan. So it's nice to have that conversation, just put it out there. They may opt not to learn more about that. They may be just satisfied with just the plan you're presenting. But if you're not educating them and not letting them know that there are ways to protect that exposure, then they're not going to know it's out there. So it does not look like I have any questions, which I hope is good. If not, I'm going to go ahead and give you back your day, your Friday. I wish you a nice weekend. I don't know what the weather's going to be, but we're all inside or maybe out. And it's a good time to spring clean and get your yard ready. So thank you all very much for attending today's webinar, and have a great day.